When we turned 35 as boomers, we already had 27% of the economy. When I was 35, we were pretty rich. I was on my way to becoming a multimillionaire because they were printing so much money. Then you have Gen X, and these are estimates. It's estimated that all they had was about 15% of the economy at age 35. And you guys, millennials, it's estimated that you guys will own less than 3%. So the other thing that's happening for you guys is because you don't make as much money now, use your credit cards, right? And you're paying the highest interest rates, where myself, I'm paying 3% interest. My whole fascination is, why are some people rich and why are some people poor? But in 2022, the gap between rich and poor is now accelerating. It's getting wider than the Grand Canyon. But a lot of the times, the people that are getting poor is simply because they had poor teachers. Their parents are poor, or they come from a poor background, or like in my case, they're all school teachers who think you have a PhD, that's all you need. The fourth tuning is here. But the people that get hammered, bull markets, make stupid people look smart. So you could be really stupid and you put your money on Apple and you got really rich. And then the bear market shows you how stupid you are. All the stupid people who think they're smart are going to find out how stupid they are. And it's going to be a very interesting time. But our schools say to go to school, get a job, and get a 401k. I'm going, oh, gag me. I mean, I would never do that. But if you had bad teachers or poor teachers, or your parents said, that's what you do. But something even worse happening is the last crash was, let's say 2008, when the repo market reversed and all this stuff. And most of these financial planners and real estate brokers, all they know is a rising market. Since 2008, we've been nothing, and happy days are here again because they kept dropping interest rates. Real estate went up, stock market went up, bond markets went up. These are the strangest times. The stock market's at an all-time high. That's why I wrote this book here, Who Stole My Pension? Well, even that's gone today. Those are called defined benefit pension plans. IRAs and 401ks are defined contribution pension plans, and they all came about in 1974. It can't get more interesting than this right now. I mean, I've never seen it so screwed up. 25 years ago, when Kim and I published Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we knew it was going to get bad, but I didn't think it was going to get this bad. My concern as an old guy is that my generation, a baby boom generation, the first generation with a defined contribution pension plan versus a defined benefit pension plan. But what happened was, in my father's generation, they had a pension for life. So if let's say they worked for Ford Motor Company, they got a pension for life. But when the baby boomers came along, they said it was too expensive and we couldn't compete with China and Japan and Europe. So they took away the defined benefit pension plan, which is what our World War II generation had. And in 1974, they shifted it to defined contribution. So suddenly, most baby boomers have defined contribution, like a 401k, IRAs, and things like this. My concern is, right, the reason I say it's interesting times, we're in a massive stock market bubble, real estate bubble, bond market bubble. Everything is in a bubble, and the average baby boomer, my generation, has not an effing clue what that means. Many of the people who think they're safe, like the airline pilots and UPS drivers and all these guys, well, Wall Street's been stealing their pensions. And so that's why Kim and I do not have a pension. We just don't want one, and we don't need one. But you need to know about it, especially being in interesting times. So when I looked into what your situation is, let me just share something with you, is that we had a thing called Social Security. So they put nothing into Social Security because it came out, I think, 1933 or 36, whenever it came out. So who gets screwed? Boomers. Social Security is now bankrupt. Look at this chart over here. This is Social Security. So the boomers now are facing a world without Social Security because Social Security is broke. The more I looked into, boomers and millennials, this is another thing that you guys face, is that expenses are going up of America. But what's happening is income is coming down. So you guys are in very serious trouble. That's like a family where they keep spending more money, but the father or mother are not bringing money in. So what we're passing on to you guys, World War II and the boomer generation, is an estimated $180 trillion deficit to as high as $225 trillion when you count Social Security and Medicare. So I don't know how you guys are going to make it. Rich are greedy. It's the poor that are greedy. If you think about it, because to be rich, you have to give something. I have to produce books and games, and I purchase real estate, I provide housing, provide jobs and all that. That's why I'm rich. But greedy people produce nothing. See, if you work for money, you're taxed. So that's why lesson number one in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. What we do instead is we create businesses as entrepreneurs. We acquire real estate. I don't invest in the stock market. So the reason is because as entrepreneurs, I have more control over my income, how much I make, and how much I pay in taxes. And because I'm an entrepreneur as well as an investor in real estate, I pay zero tax. So every time I make, let's say, $1 million as an entrepreneur, I immediately invested in real estate and have a 4-to-1 step up. So I put $1 million in real estate, I got $4 million from the bank. That's why I love banks, because when you print, savers get creamed and people who work for it. My poor dad, my PhD father, he always said to me, he says, I'd be a rich man if I didn't have you kids. And I said, well, Dad, not my fault you had kids. I just can't afford it because I have kids. And the more he said that, the angrier I got. So when I met my rich dad at age 9, he says, well, that's why your old man's poor, because he's lazy. He thinks his PhD is going to carry him. He says, everybody can say, I don't have money, I can't afford it. He says, that's why he's poor. He's lazy. Only lazy people use their own money. And that's because I have spent much of my life raising capital. But the reason I had to learn to raise money was because I had no money. And so if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in there, my rich dad always said, never say, I can't afford it. And it was my rich dad and many of my teachers subsequent to that. They said, lazy people always say, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. That's why they're poor. They have a poor mindset. So instead of figuring out how to raise money, it's just really easy to be a loser. And I call them losers. It pisses them off because we all have the power, if we wanted to not be poor if we learned how to raise money.
Small ebook, big impact, The Wealth Tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.